now getting ready for spud harvest. So we have to get all of our equipment ready. This right here behind me is our harvester. It is a 4-row Spudnik harvester. It's great. We got it last year. It's used, but man, it's awesome. It's hard to buy new equipment now. New equipment's so expensive, so if you can find it used, that's the way to go. But I'll show you this thing a little bit. So this will take 4 rows. So these chains right here, a row will go here, 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 and here. So it'll take 4 rows going up, and it goes up. These are the primaries. Then there's the secondaries up there. The one with the big, long rods, that's the diviner. So the diviner will take the spuds and it'll separate them from the spud vines that are above the ground. And so those will go over the back. And then there's this big fan, this huge fan. You can't see it from this side, but from the back you can see into the fan. Just a big fan that just sucks in tons of air. See the little fins, the paddles in there. So this sucks in air, goes through this big tube, and then there's a slit right there. You can see right there. So that, come on, focus, focus. So that slit goes all the way along. So as the vines are being carried over the back on that diviner chain right here, they'll be blown off in here and they'll just go back onto the ground. So you won't have very many vines in it. And all the spuds drop onto this belt right here. This is the rear cross. So this belt then takes the potatoes all the way over to the side elevator. So they drop off of that onto this chain. This chain just takes them up the side, and it's a big long chain. Takes them up the side to this. So this is obviously the bottom, because this machine is pretty big, but it takes them to this. This is it's a multi-sep table. So everything will fall onto this, and these belts, they kind of grab, if there are any vines left, it'll grab the vines and it'll pull the vines out. And there's rollers, so there's smooth rollers. Right there's one right there, there's one right there. So those smooth rollers spin the opposite direction, so it will it'll pull stuff through. But this helps separate vines. It does dirt clods a little bit. The big ones will still get through, but it gets most of the vines out. So when the spuds get to the cellar, they are pretty clean. So then after that, it dumps onto this, which this is the belt that takes and dumps it into the truck. So it goes up this belt, and it's got this big boom over here. I'll go show you that boom. So this boom goes inside the truck. This part's in the truck, but it'll move. It hinges right here and it hinges right here. But not only that, it's on this track. So it actually will move forward and backwards. So the truck can just pull up next to you and you can move and load the back. It'll slide all the way back to here, and then you can move it all the way up and load the front. And the truck really doesn't have to move. The trucks only have to move one time versus our old harvester. This was fixed. So you could move this up and down, but the truck had to move, I think, 5 times forward and backward just so you could load the truck. And it just made it harder for the truck driver. It made it more likely to hit this. Like you can see that it's been hit a few times. It's got some good dents and stuff. And you can see right here, we have had to weld it back together. Just a couple spots. Not that it broke, but it started to break. It started to crack. So we had to weld a few things, mainly because this will be down in the truck, and then suddenly the truck will decide to slow down or speed up, and it'll hit the truck because this doesn't move very fast. So sometimes we can't get it out of the truck before it hits the truck. So with it being on this track and the truck's not having to move as much, it kind of got rid of a lot of that. We don't hit very often. I think we may have hit a truck once or twice last year. So, but yeah, this is our harvester. So I'll show you the crossover here in a minute. So we're back here hooking up the crossover. We just got it hooked up to the hitch. But now there's a whole mess of hydraulic lines and wires that we have to sort through, because we got to hook it up to lift it off the blocks that are over there underneath the points. Once we get it hooked up, I'll kind of show you guys how it all works. Okay, we got it all hooked up. Had to fiddle around with the hydraulics for a little bit to get everything to work, because you hook all the hydraulics up and turn them on, but then you control everything with the electrical box. All the hydraulics just go through a big valve body. But took a little bit, but we got it going. Now we're gonna pull it up to the shop. Got to pull it up to the shop and service it, make sure everything works, maybe replace some chains. But we'll be digging next week. Now this is our crossover. We just got it hooked up. I'll show you how it works here. So this is a 6-row Sputnik crossover. So on this, every single one of these belted chain is going to pick up a row. So it'll pick up 6 rows. It comes up here. Now this, the harvester also has them, but it has these, they're called shakers. So this has hydraulic shakers right here that shake back and forth like this. And it shakes this and gets the dirt to fall through. So the dirt all falls through, so we don't have as much dirt. And then same as the harvester, these are the primaries. They don't have rubber on them. The secondaries have rubber on them. And then it also has a diviner that pulls the vines off the potatoes a little bit. Now, if we come around the back, those, let's see, I'll show you this right here. So this is the 3rd coulter. So this is what will open up. This will go in the row, in between the rows that are next to it, and it'll open it up right here. And then when the spuds get over the secondary chain, they drop onto this. This is the rear cross. So they can drop onto this, and then it just spits them out the side. So it'll take the spuds and it'll spit them out, and it'll pile them right here in the row that this is opened up. It'll pile them here, so it puts 6 rows in between 2 rows, and then the harvester will come by and pick up these 2 rows and then these 2 rows, and then it'll also pick up all the spuds that are dropped in the middle. So the harvester is actually, it's a 4-row harvester, but it's picking up 10 rows. Now there are some guys that they'll run 2 of these crossovers and they'll pick up 16 rows at a time with the harvester. But our operation, even though it is pretty big, we're doing about 1,250 acres of potatoes this year. So we have quite a few potatoes, but we don't really have the need for a second crossover. If we increase very much though, we're probably gonna have to get a second crossover, but at that point we'll have to update all of our cellar equipment too, because right now our bottleneck is the cellar. All of our cellar equipment is just old. So, but yeah, that's the crossover. That's really the 2 pieces of equipment that go in the field. We also have the vine beater over there, that yellow thing. That's what I'll be running most of the time. It goes in front, so it'll go 4 days ahead of the crossover and the harvester, chop up the vines, so when they go through, they don't carry potatoes over the back with vines. Last year, we had a big problem of vines. Vines were building up back here, and it was just rolling, and it would build up and roll the potatoes. It would roll them all up into a big ball, and we were carrying over tons of potatoes over the back. And the potatoes we grow aren't the potatoes you see in the store. The potatoes we grow are bigger than a football, or something else to compare it to, bigger than a roll of paper towels. They're big potatoes. We do get lots of little ones, but there are some big ones. But we got the vine beater to solve the issue of having big clumps of vines that roll up potatoes. So hopefully this solves our problem. This is the first year we've ran a vine beater, but last year we probably lost 25 to 30 sacks to the acre of potatoes. And if we can get just 3 sacks more, it'll pay for this thing. So hopefully it can save us a few sacks. we definitely don't want to lose any. The goal here is to not leave any potatoes in the field. But yeah, how this works is it has these tires. There's a set we'll run on top of each row to keep it level. And then underneath here, there's a whole bunch of flails. Now, they're all different lengths because they're not just chopping vines on a flat surface. They're chopping vines in between potato rows. So in order to chop the whole potato row, they have to go up the hill and then down into the next one, then up and then down. So they have to go up and down, so they're different levels. So it'll chop evenly and chop efficiently and as much as we can. So, but that's how this works. This will go about 4 days ahead of the other equipment to hopefully give the potatoes time to fall off the vine in the ground before we dig them. We're working on this right now. This table, we had to take this roller out. It needs a whole bunch of these little stars, but we also took off another roller and Trevor's up there holding it. But we're getting all put back together. We do have to replace some of the primary chains, which are these first set of chains that don't have the rubber on them. But we've got to do some servicing before we dig, because we dig in like a week and a half to 2 weeks. So we'll be doing that. So now I'm standing up on top of our harvester here. We took all the primaries and secondaries off and the diviner because there was a bunch of these rollers, all these little yellow rollers. There was a few of them, actually quite a few of them that were seized up. All the ones that are red are new. So they had to change a whole bunch of those. We have a couple rollers under this rear cross back here that are bad. Trevor and Josh are working on. And then we have this slip clutch right here that, see that bolt is broke off. We need to take the bolts out that are broke off. We have some new bolts to put in them. And then there's a hydraulic motor up on the front that is also bad. So we've got a little bit of work to do on this to get it ready for harvest, but we'll be going next week, so we got to get it all ready. All right, so we just got all the chains back on this from servicing it. Had to change a bunch of rollers, bunch of sprockets, got everything back on. This is kind of how it works. We're just greasing it, oiling all the chains. Those all run. Spuds go up the back, and then they drop onto this big side chain that's coming up here. And then they drop onto this chain that then puts them in the truck. So that's how it runs. So I think we're about ready. We got the spud beds on. All of our spud beds are just about finished bolting up. Let's see. There's one over there in the cellar over there, or in the shop over there, you can see. We're just finishing bolting the rest of those up. We do have to put the chains on the crossover to finish that. And then we'll be ready to dig in a couple of days. All right, well, thanks for joining me on this one. We're just getting the equipment ready, so not a lot going on in this one, but next video is harvest, so look forward to that one. He'll be coming at you. Christopher's back there just farting around. Don't mind him.
Farting around, huh?
Well, see you in the next one. Subscribe.